Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's December 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and pretty interesting day. Um, this is a great example of why you want to be flat in here before you go into anytime when you're going into an FOMC announcement. I think you can tell by this is, I mean, it's not uncommon to get a reaction similar to what's in this circle, but to get this big of a move means the market was probably caught off guard. So I was a little surprised they raised rates. We got a new president, and he haven't even got in office, and they're already, they're already raising rates. So um, it's going to be interesting to see what comes after the new year. They even hinted around about three more increases, over the next few months. So we'll have to see. But this is a good example of why you want to be flat, because even if you're playing this right, these big whipsaws right here will stop you out only to see it go. Just like here, if you were long, you probably would have got stopped out only to see it go higher. Early on, this looked like a range, so you'd probably been better off to playing it to the downside. But even if you'd have got short right in here, you'd have got burned before it went down. So generally, I say on FOMC day, I usually want to be out no less than 30 minutes before the announcement, but generally about an hour. I might manage a runner right within 5 or 10 minutes of it, but I'd probably still exit it right before it comes out, just because I don't want to give back all whatever I had made on that runner. So I'm probably going to exit. A couple other things today. Actually, before I get started on that, I did want to comment. I made a comment yesterday about the larger patterns, and the gentleman making a comment about his chart being different, and I went through some explanations. And he made a post. He commented back, but his comment has disappeared. So I don't know if he since deleted it or whatever. But he commented back that he wouldn't post any, or he wouldn't comment anymore. And I just wanted to say I don't want to discourage anybody from commenting. I always leave my comments open. I know a lot of people just close comments, and I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to encourage people to be able to discuss things, and I want to encourage people to comment when they feel like they want to comment. My only thing I'll ask you is, this gentleman had already said before that a couple more than once that he thought that channels, these trend lines and channels were subjective, and so he's already said that. So um, I don't mind him saying he saw something different or showing what he saw, but at some point you don't have to keep saying you disagree with me on my basically some of the main basics of what I'm trying to teach here. If you feel that way, then you probably don't want to be here. Go somewhere else. But if you're interested in what we're doing, uh, I'm I'm not discouraging anybody to come here, post, comment, whatever. But you made your point that you think that um, that that the trend lines are subjective. Okay, that's your prerogative, but I don't want to discourage you from posting anymore or making comments. Um, I just didn't want to hear that comment anymore. I hope that makes sense. So I wasn't trying to run you off. Um, that wasn't in my intent, and I don't want to run anybody off. So I just, but if you're trying to um, if you're trying to belittle the one of the most important parts of what we're teaching here, it's just not beneficial to what we're doing. So that was my only issue with it. So I hope that's clear, and no hard feelings. That's not my intent. So, but anyway, back to the chart lesson. Um, Early on, I was playing this as a range. There was a channel here, but I just couldn't get. I saw it off these first few here, these first two or three swings here, but it just I was trying to make it fit back up here. I just couldn't make it fit until prices actually got down into here and it bounced a couple more times. Then it did fit, and so then I kind of bought into it. So early on, I just couldn't buy into this brown channel, but you can see it definitely was in play, and you can see it came back in play late in the evening. Um, you could argue that it was the other two here because it bounces off of them too. But you can see that closing within that brown, uh, and you can see it coming back in play here, and even here, and even coming back up here. So yeah, I believe the Brahman was valid, but I believe what happened was we got a break of it and a new low, and then a correction. But really, once we started this downtrend, we just got a new one all the way over again. But notice we got this one coming down. We do get a break, and you really have two measured legs here. But at this point, you could find the other channel, and you didn't really need this. But there's your two measured legs, and you can see we came really, really close. We didn't quite get that low late in the afternoon before it bounced. This turned out to be a nice bounce and another nice sell-off. So we were still, market was still volatile right up into the close almost. So I think that quarter point caught a lot of people off guard, and they weren't sure what to think about it. So, but anyway, I wanted to point that out and kind of give you my line of thinking as the day went on. There weren't a lot of trades today, and you really needed to be out here, and you had to kind of wait till the volatility was over, and so you didn't get a chance to enter again till here. And I'm definitely not going long in here. I actually drew this right here and drug it up and kind of had it waiting there. It threw me off again a little bit because of this overshoot here. So for whatever reason, some of our tricks that we normally use to find it off the lower side were a little bit more difficult. There's no doubt those two right there are there, and if you drag it up, it fits, and it worked out, but it throws you off when it bounces here. So I wasn't real confident in this when it came back here. So just keep that in mind. I did want to show that, and I wasn't real confident in this line early on until we got two more bounces here, because by the time you had this line, it just didn't fit down here anywhere until prices came on down. So it just was a little, usually a lot of times you can confirm it off the low side before you can even find the high side, which you really could here, but this kind of threw you off the overshoot. Here, it just didn't match up down here anywhere that gave you this angle up here. So I just wasn't sold on that brown one early on, but I do believe it's valid. And so let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap. Excuse me, I'm sorry, and wrap the day up. But you had a trade here early on that looked really good. We were kind of in this range here, and this is I treated this like a breakout pullback. It's also a failed second entry long. You had a new high here, it's higher than that swing high. So first entry, and then you pull back second entry, and that's a bounce off that low. And this is a good example of why you wait on the higher low. This low's lower than that one. And if you see that all the way to the right, let me show you what I'm kind of getting at here. That looks tempting to go long, but most times you're going to be better off waiting on that higher low. It'll save you from exactly what happened here, where it turned up and trapped everybody and then turned. I'd go short right there. That's a perfect setup. Quick, easy scalp. And then this is a double top, so you can count this as a new high again here. And so there's another failed second entry long right here, and it does confirm that trend line. I wasn't 100% crazy about it because we just had another failure out of these lows here, but you really could go short there, and you could treat it like a trap. So it's real close to even being red. But the reason I didn't like it is you had to go short just one tick from the overnight low at that point. And so that's just never a great idea. And so I'm going to leave it green. It would have worked, but sometimes you'll get burned there. Then, of course, we're coming back. And here's your higher low. This is what I was talking about right here. Notice how you got the higher low. So you could consider going long there. You don't really have a confirmation of this trend line yet. That's really your first two swings. You do have several closes there working up. So you might have considered going long there because most of the time these breakouts are going to come back and at least test the breakout area. So you figure prices are going to at least come back to here, and you may go all the way back to the top. So that one's probably worth considering. And then we finally get a break here, a first entry, and you just never get another chance to enter. The thing just takes off. And I would measure that move. And you see we got a perfect measured move there. So that would have been my target once it did head down. And it was tempting to go short here when you see that line. But like I explained before, when you're at this point right here, you can't make this line. You know, you actually could. It kind of looks semi well there, and it's kind of like the one in the afternoon where I showed you, but you had that overshoot. So it, you know, it just doesn't look right, and you can't. The midline is even something that looks like a midline there, but I'm not crazy about it. So I just couldn't get sold on that with all this range going on here. So I played it as a range, and I didn't really get interested in this till we came back to that line again. Um, so, but we had the measured move down there. It was real tempting, but that's a new low, not a higher low, and you didn't get your higher low to way up here. And then you had to be concerned about this line and the concern that maybe there's a downtrend here because we're making lower lows and lower highs here each time. So, so I wasn't crazy about getting long down here without a higher low, and that didn't come till way up here. So by that point, you probably want to wait on your failure, and you really don't get that. So um, it just turns down, and you might have considered going short right there. Your stop would have had to go above this high. But by this time, it's pretty obvious this trend line, whether or not it's a valid channel, that trend line's in play. There's no denying it when it comes back here. And it was pretty obvious when you could make it fit here. And then it kind of makes more sense that sometimes it just takes a little more price action to find the channel or the trend line than it does on other days. And today you needed a little more price action. It got into 9 o'clock, 9:30 before it made sense. So, and sometimes you can project it, but today maybe it was just me, I don't know, but I couldn't buy into that brown trend line early on, even though clues were there, and it made sense off the highs. I just couldn't make it match up, and so I didn't put a lot of faith in it. I traded the shorter term things here. Of course, we got a break here, a new high, but you don't have a very good signal bar. You might have let it break below this bar here and then dropped your limit order a little more further back in, and you probably would have got filled on it, maybe back to the original low, or maybe one tick back into the bar, which this is really your signal bar, although you use this for your trigger and to give you a little. This was really your signal bar, but that's just too bullish. And so, but your stop has to go up there. But you might have played that one that way. You were better off to wait on the lower high here, just like you wait on the higher low off the low. You wait off the lower high off the high, and you got that here. Fairly bearish bar. It's not perfect, but I like that one. And you got to assume this channel's in play now. And of course, it bounces down here, and you find this support right here. So, and again, you get a lower low, so you can't really go long. And then this pulls back up to the trend line and turns down right off it again. You get a nice bearish bar. I like going short right there. And that one, this time it takes off. It finally gets through. The support, there was just strong support right across here around 22.62 to maybe 22.63, and it just took a little work to get through it. And even when it did, it fails and comes back. This is tempting here too, but once you see this channel here, which it's obvious now, I don't think you want to go long right into that EMA, back into this support resistance line. You could, if you took it, it would have worked, but I just don't think I couldn't get real excited about it. You do get a failure here. Again, this one is close to being green, but I left it blue because this trend line is obvious up through here, and that confirmed it. And it looks like the range is still in play, even though you got a channel here. And a lot of times on range days, the channel won't play out exactly right. The support gets too strong and it reverses. And so that's what it looked like here. And so I like that one. Again, you got to be a little bit hesitant because there's some flatline resistance across here too. But with that being a trap and a pretty good signal bar right off confirming that trend line, I think that one was worth risking. We do get a closeout side here. You don't want to go eye right into that, especially with all those bars stacked up there. It does come back and make a higher low again, but that's a first entry, and you don't get your second entry till right into a double top and right into that resistance. So, and plus, maybe right around 12 o'clock, you don't want to be trading this anyway. So that's the main reason there's nothing going on there. Otherwise, that would have been a nice short if that happened, with regular volatility. But this would have happened so quickly, you wouldn't have a chance to even think about it. This all happened real quickly. And then it bounces, and of course the rules still play out. You got a break of this and move two legs to a new low. You could still look at it like that. You still have the range. You get a failed break, so a chance to go short, and that would have been a nice setup otherwise. But it's still a little too volatile in here, in my opinion. You might have considered something by here, but I think you're just better off to wait. And then it kind of gets back to normal here. You can see that. And there's a second entry short right there on this. And there's a shorter term channel in here too. You can see the really light line. This is kind of busy here. I apologize, but I want to get it all on here. And this is the first close outside, but you got to let this little correction play out. And generally what you want to see is a break and a retest attempt or a new high. But we didn't really get it, so it turns back down. So you got to wait on the little lower high here, in my opinion. And that's a nice bearish bar. You really could have gone short below that one. This is really your signal bar when it broke below that one. But if you weren't, you could have gone short right there as well. And this turns out to be a nice trade. And I would have had that measured move going and from here to here and looking for that on down as well. And you can see that one. I'd go here first and then here, and of course that's right, we tried to bounce there, we went a little lower. So there's a couple of different ways to, most of them are overshoots except for the biggest one. It came up just a hair short. So but yeah, that was a nice trade. Would have had a runner there most likely. And then you get two legs back. And again, I wasn't confident in this on the first couple of tests of it, but when you get that third attempt to go higher and it fails, this is your signal bar. You'd end up going short right below that big bearish one. And that's another great trade. And you could have ridden this, all the way down. So I like that trade. And it also is a little bit of a breakout pullback short because you're kind of, you can see that running across there. You got resistance. But we're really making lower lows and lower highs all the way there. Somebody else sent me their chart and they got fooled to the long side here. But theirs was more stacked up, and and then you get this little failed break lower, and he's thinking long here, which I could understand that to a degree, the way his chart looked. But he missed this bigger channel, and I could understand that because until you got those first two swings, and his was more sideways, his just looked different than mine. It's a little more obvious here, still going lower here. And you would have, and before that long would have triggered right here, you should have definitely had that trend line in place. So, but what I did was I drew it off these lows. I originally had it something like that. It's still exactly the same though, and I just pulled it up. And so, just in case, but I really lost confidence in it when it overshot it right here, just like I showed you on the early morning. It's almost a repeat type pattern, although that one's hard to see unless you really got a keen eye for this stuff. So in the end, I think it was a repeat pattern. So And whenever you see a repeat pattern, if it works once, it'll probably do the same thing the next time. And so that really got you into the 3 o'clock hour. Nothing else, much else going on today. So not a lot of trades, a couple of really nice ones, and you just one of those days where generally on FOMC days, I'll trade up until about noon and I'll just call it quits. But there wasn't much going on this morning, so I hung around to see what was going to happen this afternoon. But most of the time I'll be done by noon on FOMC days. But it's not uncommon either to see the market just go sideways until the announcement comes out, because people don't want to get caught up trying to get in here to see what might, because they don't know this could have just as easily went up as it went down. Based on what's happening here, I really think that the major players were looking to go long off this news, because they brought it down here and failed it out the bottom only to take it up into the news and then it reversed. So to me, this is just speculation, nothing scientific about it, but to me, just the look of the price action looks to me like this was a huge surprise. This quarter point increase today was a huge surprise. Caught me off guard, but I never pay any attention to the news anyway. I don't care what it is, because I know that you can't predict it. Even if I knew that quarter point rise was coming, it could have gone up just as easy as it went down. You cannot read, even if you have the news, you don't know what's going to happen. Not short term. Longer term, you might be able to read into it, but short term, and you can see we tried to take most of that news back. A lot of times what will happen is when you get a big surprise from the news, it'll usually take it all back within an hour or two. Well, it tried today, but it ended up selling back off pretty strongly again. And so this is one of those days where we didn't take it back pretty quickly. But that's a lot of sell-off there. I mean, it's obvious there was a lot of selling in the market. So anyway, that's plenty for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. But hopefully you had a good trading day today and you didn't get caught off guard too bad. And again, we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.